Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. Most people think that old American silver coins are simple. They're just 90% silver and some older coins are just worth more. But that's not exactly how the system worked. In fact, the United States defined its silver coinage 4 different times before 1965. And one design witnessed every transition, the seated Liberty coinage. Today we're going to take a look at the 4 different eras of silver history in the United States and how the seated Liberty series tells that history. Congratulations to Emmanuel for getting to my comment section in my last video first. Thank you for the support. Y'all go find Emmanuel down in the comment section below to start a conversation. I recently found a YouTuber that goes by the name of Fish under the channel If You Know, You Know. He inspired a group of people to get these leather mouse pouches and stack 100 pieces of gold that he for a time was calling queso. Another YouTuber, Thousandaire Radio, decided to take his own twist on it and stack platinum, or what he's calling white cheddar. And I wanted my twist to be a little bit more history-based or numismatic-based. I decided to put aged cheddar in here. Only silver and gold coins that are at least 150 years old. So today we'll be adding 2 more pieces of aged cheddar, as well as taking a deep dive into the changes of silver throughout United States history. The story begins in 1792. That's when Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1792, creating the first official U.S. monetary system. At the center of the system was the silver dollar. It contained 371 1/4 grains of pure silver, with a total weight of 416 grains, made the alloy at a 0.8924 fine silver. Every other silver coin was simply a fraction of that dollar. That created 5 silver denominations: the dollar, half dollar, quarter, dime, and yes, even the half dime, all proportional to the dollar. This system was built on something very important: bimetallism. Both gold and silver were legal money, and the government fixed that exchange ratio between them. In early America, the official ratio was about 15 to 1, meaning that 15 ounces of silver was equivalent in value to 1 ounce of gold. But here's the problem. The world market ratio wasn't always the same. In Europe, the ratio often floated closer to 15.5 to 1 or even 16 to 1. And that small difference created a huge opportunity for traders, because when the metal was undervalued in one country, people exported it. Imagine being a merchant in the 1820s. In the United States, 15 ounces of silver was equal to 1 ounce of gold, but in Europe, 16 ounces of silver was equal to 1 ounce of gold. That means that the gold was undervalued in America. So what do traders do? They buy the gold coins in the United States, like the $10 eagle or the $5 half eagle. Then they ship them to Europe, where the gold is worth more. They melt them or trade them to convert them into silver and bring that silver back to the United States. Once that silver came back to America, they traded again for that undervalued gold coin. This cycle repeated itself again and again. So during this time, American gold coins were leaving the country. They were being traded overseas for silver bullion or foreign coinage, which then came back to the United States to purchase even more American gold. The system was slowly draining America of its gold and replacing it with foreign silver coinage. This was so much of a problem that actually until 1857, there were set foreign coins with a specific exchange ratio that merchants could accept as legal tender in the United States. Imagine how confusing this would be for a merchant in the 1820s who not only had to remember that America just started making their own coins about 30 years ago, but also that they're the first country to ever try a decimalized coin to be divided into tenths. Coins like the Spanish meal dollar, the 8 reales, or the French écu were either divided into 12s or 8s, and now we had a whole set exchanged between all of these currencies. Congress eventually needed to stabilize the system. So in 1837, they passed the Coinage Act of 1837, and this law standardized American coinage. From that point forward, silver coins would be 90% silver. But not only the silver coins, the gold coins as well. Before this, they were a 22 karat or another alloy for about 6 years. But with this change came a new design, the seated Liberty coins. Lady Liberty sits on a rock holding a shield and a liberty pole. This design would appear on every silver coin: half dimes, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and silver dollars. But the stability didn't last very long, because something happened that completely changed gold and silver markets. In 1848, gold was discovered in California. The California gold rush flooded the global economy with gold. Suddenly, the supply of gold skyrocketed, and when the supply increases, prices change. Gold became cheaper relative to silver, and the gold to silver ratio shifted dramatically. In many markets, it moved to 16 to 1 and higher. That meant that something dangerous for the U.S. monetary system was about to happen. American silver coins suddenly contained more silver value than their face value. And then what happened? People started hoarding and melting the coins. By the early 1850s, silver coins were already disappearing from circulation. During this time, American silver coins were often exported to Europe and Asia, where the silver bullion inside them could be traded for gold or other silver coins at a profit. Merchants would export these American silver coins, then trade them internationally for gold bullion or foreign silver coins. That gold could then be brought back to the United States and exchanged again for this undervalued silver coinage. Silver coinage left the country in massive numbers, and small coinage became very scarce. Businesses struggled to make everyday transactions, and Congress had to act. And then came the Coinage Act of 1853. But instead of changing the purity this time, they simply changed the weight. Silver coins were made slightly lighter. For example, a dime was dropped from 41 1/4 grains to 83.4 grains, and a quarter dropped from 103.125 grains to 96 grains. That small change made coins less valuable as bullion, meaning it was no longer profitable to melt them. To signal the change, the mint added arrows next to the dates. These coins in 1853 and 1854 had the arrows before going back to no arrows by the dates in 1855. The final transformation came 20 years later in the Coinage Act of 1873. This act eliminated the standard silver dollar from regular production. The United States was now effectively moving towards a gold-dominated monetary system. Critics later called this law the crime of 1873 because silver has historically been one of the most primary metals of money. And this Coinage Act stopped the production of the United States silver dollar, as well as simply defined the fractional coinage to be 25 grams of 90% silver when added up to a dollar. However, that 25 grams had nothing significant to do with the value of the silver. This was now effectively token coinage. The dollar was then defined only by the gold in the gold coins. And that 25 grams of 90% silver is actually the same standard that was used all the way until 1964. This is where we get the $1.40 equivalent to 1 troy ounce of silver. The seated Liberty design continued for a few more decades, but the monetary world it was born into had changed forever. It wasn't replaced until 1892 with the introduction of the barber coinage. So I'm collecting these aged cheddar, silver and gold coins that are at least 150 years old. And as I do so, I'm going to be learning more and more about what gold and silver meant as a currency across the world. After adding this 1852 and 1853 dime, I now have 12 pieces of old. My goal is 100 pieces, so follow along as I add each coin. I just made my own line of coffee. Joseph's Reserves It's Today Again coffee. Most mornings aren't dramatic. They're quiet. You wake up, pour yourself a cup, and now you have a choice. Drift through the day or take hold of what's in front of you. That's really what this whole thing's about. Showing up, building good habits, staying disciplined in the small things. Whether that's stacking consistently, learning something new, or just being faithful with what you've been given. I put these words on every bag to remind myself first. Every morning is a gift. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today. So take a breath, take a sip, and let's get to work. It's today again. You can now write me at Joseph's Reserves, 10160 Highway 242, Suite 800, number 401 in Conroe, Texas, zip code 77385. Make sure to include your information so I can write you back. If you like this video, make sure to go down and give it a thumbs up. Go down into the comment section for any questions or comments or to start a conversation with someone. If you know someone that might like this content, please share the video. And if you haven't already, subscribe. But most of all, thank you so much for watching. And just remember, every ounce adds up. So no matter how small, just keep stacking.